What's going on, everybody? It is lunchtime, lunch with the Clydesdale. Oh, what is going on? What a Monday. I have this like 130-page document that I have to review. It's a technical document. I got to get it done. I've been working on it for a couple weeks. Really put my head down this morning. Had Savannah on in the background. Listen to my friend Matt Shingledecker and our director of public safety, and just listening and doing my thing. And then they all leave, and it's Caleb and Savant sitting there talking. And Savant says, well, I'm going to go listen to Clydesdale if he's not live. And I look up and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I got to go live in like 5 minutes. And so I flew down here as fast as I could, set up all the equipment, and got on the air. But damn, I just got in the zone. So yeah, Matt Shingledecker's in the chat. Says hi, guys, to everybody. He was great. Andy was great. Debbie's great. I'm actually going to have Debbie on Friday. And we're going to talk about the climb in a little more depth and how it's going on today, or this 9/11 here in Columbus. And we're going to talk about the workout in depth, a lot of that kind of stuff. We've had them on every year. They're fantastic. They are the pride and joy of Ohio. CrossFit Crave has one of the best local comps in the state. It's fun and outside the box. Very like old school NorCal classic CrossFit. Just great stuff. And I met Matt as a volunteer back in 2013 or 14 at one of the regionals. We were on the same team together, and he's just an amazing individual. So it was really fun getting to listen to them and see what they're doing in the state of Ohio to really improve everything we have going on here. So that was a lot of fun to listen to that this morning. Man, the chat is full already. We got Trained Olive in the house. We got Megan. We got Vindicate, Craig, Helson, Terry, Joseph, Jay Birch, Omar, Judy, Kenneth, Ken, Sarah. Holy cow. So many people. Yeah, I love you too, brother. Can't wait to catch up with Debbie this week. So yeah, quick turnaround from last night's show to today. We went really long last night. And one of the things I wanted to kind of rattle around the cage today is one of the things we talked about last night was how James Sprague is getting screwed at NorCal or SoCal, at Wadapalooza SoCal. And I really was thinking about it a lot. And what was crazy is when I first saw it, I was like, there's no way that Pat Vellner should be there and James Sprague shouldn't. There's just no way. And then I thought about it some more, and Carolyn kind of brought it up last night. And I'm trying to pull up the promotion photo for that. Because I want to pull that up as a. So here's Wadapalooza. Here's the poster. The more I thought about it, I was like, so here is the poster. It's hard to see everybody, so I'll pull up their tags. That way we can have their names. You have Pat Vellner, Jason Hopper, Justin Medeiros, and Dallin Pepper on Team USA. If you really sit back and think about it, James Sprague has had a better year than all four of those men. Now, it's really close with Hopper, but he has had a better year than everybody else. James won the games in 2024. He finished first at Wodapalooza. He finished second at WFP. And he finished third at the 2025 CrossFit Games. Dallin finished one place behind him at the games last year. He finished one place behind him at the games this year. And he finished a couple places behind him at WFP. Justin Medeiros has not really even competed with James Sprague over the last year. Jason Hopper finished fourth at the games last year, finished third at WFP, and finished first at the games this year. He is the only one of the four to have beaten James in a major competition. And yet, it's just like everybody thinks Dallin will be great, and I'm sure he will be. But right now, like, James has a better resume than Dallin. Dallin has 2 podium finishes, including a championship at the CrossFit Games. Dallin Pepper has 1 Games podium finish. And he has done better in other competitions in the offseason. There's no way in hell that James Sprague should not have been chosen for this invitational. Now, because it's an invitational, because it's U.S. versus the world, it's up to them to grab whoever they want. But if you're basing this on resume and resume alone, James should be your first seed in front of all 4 men that were chosen for this event. That's crazy. We went from last year arguing whether James truly was the fittest on earth to now to a point where he truly is the best male athlete in the U.S. and maybe the best male athlete in the world. James should roll up dressed like Run DMC. He should. Full Adidas gear from head to toe. Sarah Cooper, if I was James, I wouldn't even go now if I was invited. I think he has to go. One, I think it's a nice payday, if I remember correctly from last year. And really, man, TYR and Wodapalooza are missing out. If the team was James, Jason, Dallin, and Justin, that is a massive, massive win for them as an attraction to this. The behind the scenes footage would be insane. Sarah says it would be a pity invite now. I don't think he can look at it that way. I think he has to, within himself, look at his own resume and basically like, this is mine. I earned this. I should have been given this initially, and nothing they can say can change that. My resume stacks up better than everybody else at this event. It's his house. Like, and he needs to have the confidence to say that, because he has put forth the resume that makes that true. Just because he doesn't have the Instagram following that the others do doesn't make him any less of an athlete. It's a team comp, not the volume he needs to be afraid of. Yeah. Like, it's an exhibition, and I know it doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It's a fun payday. but it is exposure. It is fun exposure. And he needs to have that confidence in himself that he has earned this. He has become the number one contender. If we were in the fight scene, Jason won the games, but if you look at resumes, James has put up a resume that makes him the number one contender. I don't know how we got on Shoe Talk in the chat, but that's what happens when you get around CrossFitters, is they just keep talking about shoes. Sarah Cooper, I agree. James is great. It's just a messy situation. They would only be inviting him because the internet wanted him, not them. Well, I think the only way now he gets an invite is if someone else steps down. And I'm not even sure that has the possibility of happening at this point, unless something crazy happened at WFP where someone actually backed out. But it is a nice payday, so it's going to be tough. I just think it's wrong. He's also fun in any workout, like he's a showman. He is. I don't understand the Instagram following. We need to get someone on this. One thing is for sure, he is not buying followers. He cannot be accused of that. I agree, Ed. It is their show. Wodapalooza can pick whoever they want, not us. Show them they picked the wrong by not attending or watching. Joseph Ramirez says Vellner has all the MySpace followers, not anything current. I think he's got some Noah vibes for some people. I'll tell you what, like I was back in the warm-up area for most of the games. That kid is he's just a good guy. He shares everything he can share with whoever wants to hear it. And I know that people say he talks all the time, and he does. But I saw like a really cool relationship, like with him and Ariel, like him coming back and talking to Ariel about what he just saw. And she seemed very receptive to hear what he had said. Didn't James say he himself bought followers or on Boys Interrupted? He might have like early on, but he definitely isn't doing it now. In the IG post, Hepner calls him out for not including the fittest North American woman. I guess I didn't even look at that side of it because of the James thing. But I guess you're right. Because we have Raptis, Gazan, Lawson, and Danielle. And Olivia Kerstetter has a resume-ish. She didn't make the games last year. That's the one thing that she doesn't have going for her. Is she didn't make the games last year, to have that on her resume, where the other four do. But I am betting that Alex Kazan does not compete. And because it's an exhibition, Alexis Raptis, if her back really is in a bad spot, she might withdraw as well. So we might have some changes. You may see some of that on the women's side. And what's wrong with MySpace? I'm listening to this show on my transistor radio. That's why we love you, Ken. That's true. And Olivia is a tier athlete. She is. The biggest problem is that she didn't make the games last year, so she doesn't have that on her resume. So I think they actually have they have something there. Wonder when they'd actually form the rosters. Do we know? I don't think we know. But if I was going to bet, I would say it was before this year's games. When did this come out? 4 days. This came out 4 days ago. The poster with everybody. So that would have been a half a week after the games they announce it. They had to have discussions because I know some people said no. Shoot. CrossFit, Raptis, Kazan, and Lawson are all major TBD right now. I agree with that. CrossFit, all these women are scratch and dent. Ain't that the truth? These appearances could be a part of the tier athlete contracts. That then you don't. The Olivia thing doesn't make any sense. So none of this makes sense, and I think us trying to put logic behind it makes no sense. That's right, Jay Birch. We're only on FM stereo or YouTube. Ken, okay. So Ken played football with leather helmets, but he doesn't remember because of the 32 concussions. Tier where athletes go to die. Man, Tier's killing it. There are so many athletes wearing Tier. I mean, Dallin and Jason. That's a great group right there. I think, isn't that who Emma Lawson decided to go with? I really love my Adidas drop sets. I'm still a Reebok guy. Reebok are still my favorite shoes, but man, the Adidas ones are right there. Adidas is where it's at. Only Tier thing I ever bought is swim goggles. So this is like, I'm old, right? And I was a swimmer back in the day, and Tier had just come into the swimming world when I was swimming, and I was so anti-Tier. I thought it was like Temu Speedo, or Arena. I wore Arena and Speedo for the most part. And I hated the Tier stuff when they first came into swimming. And now that's all anybody wears in swimming. And I'm not a fan of the shoes. The shoes are cut too high on the back, and they dig into my Achilles. And so I can't wear them at all. Let's see photo, Scott. Maybe. I've shown some before on here, back when I didn't have as many people listening. So yeah. Scott wore Arena suedes, I bet. Swedes. I didn't. I I was all about the color back then. Everybody's talking about the training specials are okay. Not my favorite, but decent. Yeah, I don't have the specials. I just have the drop sets, and I love them. They're nice and wide. I love the rubber toe. I missed it when Reebok went away from the rubber toe. I really missed that. I drag my toe a lot, like doing lunges and things like that. So I really like that that's back. TYR shoes jacked up my husband's feet. Back to Adidas and Reebok. Did the big CrossFit media announcement happen yet? I'm inclined to believe that date may not be something big. I know that was put out last week. There's been a little bit of discourse in what I thought was happening with the sale. So I don't really know where we're at with all that. So I don't believe there's been anything announced yet. Everybody keeps coming in with strike movement. I tried them and they hit the outside ball of my foot too much. I have so many shoes in my house. I really need to just either give them to Goodwill or because I only wear a couple now. Jenna said something happening today. Okay. Maybe I'll have to reach out to Jenna, see what's going on. I tried Innovate and have stuck to them since. Yeah, I've never been an Innovate guy. I got a pair of V2 Rads, and I have to say I'm surprised by how much I like them. I have Rad Runners, and I like them a lot. People have strike movements out for delivery. What's happening is new ad campaign. CrossFit is for anyone, but not for everyone. We talked about that last night on the show. They released that yesterday, though. They started the CrossFit is the Cure campaign yesterday. So if that's it, that's like the biggest wah announcement today because it was actually out yesterday. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about is my wish list for the 2026 games. And it all started with all this rumor of going to Carson. Flying into LA is such a pain in the ass for anybody on the East Coast or in the Midwest. It is such a pain in the ass. I really don't want it to go to Carson. As much as I would like to go there, because I never did. I never went to a games at Carson. It'd be kind of cool to see that, but I don't think my nostalgia for that outweighs the inconvenience or what I would perceive as difficulty for fans getting there. And I said this last night, if we're going for nostalgia, I'd rather go to Del Mar in San Diego and go back to the fairgrounds there and do something around that. And it has an outdoor vibe to it because it's just like a pole barn with a roof. And then you can do stuff around that venue, I'm sure. But really my wish is we keep it centralized in the US to be able to get as many fans there as possible. because that's really what we're trying to do. We've made a good step with Albany, and that wasn't great for fan destination. So we need to get more people to come to a better location. I like the thoughts of Madison, but it is cumbersome with the building of an outdoor venue, and the inside of the arena in Madison is not awesome for the spectator. A lot of the seats are broken. It's an older venue. The Jumbotron is not great. It just not great. I would like it to stay in the central US. Maybe somewhere like St. Louis, maybe somewhere like Nashville, something like that. We had regionals at Nashville for like 3 years in a row, and the place was packed. Now, my ultimate goal would be that it come to Columbus, because Columbus could outfit everything. Where the Masters games are, just a block away is a baseball stadium, a soccer stadium, and a hockey arena. In addition to the convention center that has everything, you're like 10 minutes from the airport. It's an easy airport to get in and out of. And there are a ton of hotels all around that area, including several Airbnb options. T-Money says the Vikings training facility in Minnesota. So I saw 2 Granite games there. Beautiful complex, but it's all outdoors. You'd have no indoor events, and there's nothing around the venue. I know when we would get done at the end of the night, trying to find food was very difficult. And Denise says, and in Columbus, we have Rogue. Yeah, Rogue is literally from where the Masters games are being held to Rogue is not even a 10-minute drive. Not even a 10-minute drive. And all the amenities I've listed in Columbus haven't even touched Ohio State University, which has its own arena, its own football stadium, its own soccer fields. It's got so much there as well. Judy Reed, who knows Columbus for sure with the arena, OSU, Rogue. There's so many amenities here, and it's an easy international airport to get in and out of. Columbus Airport is a slight step up from Madison. It is way bigger and way better than Madison for sure. I know CrossFit, you don't like Ohio, but hey, we do have some amenities. Brett Owsley, I'm going to need your tips and tricks for Columbus. Leave in 8 days. Atlanta sucks, but I live near there, so I'd love the games to come here. Yeah, I would hate Atlanta. I used to have to drive through there to get from Tallahassee, Florida to home. It was awful. Awful. But what I really truly want is a festival atmosphere where we can get festival tickets sold again, where people can come in, hang out as a community, do stuff together, maybe watch on big screens at either the beer garden or the outdoor park and hang out and watch CrossFit together. And most importantly, a place where you can do the campground again, where people bring RVs, bring tents. They had glamping options the one year, but you can all come and hang out in this area and do WODs in the dirt, do WODs with friends there. Mayhem did activations. It was amazing. I think the loss of the campground is bigger than people think it is. It gives an economical way for people to come watch the games and kind of hang out and make it that festival feel. And yes, Ed, it is jazzy. Megan says, sure she does. Campground is the best. Right. It's what gives it the festival feel. People can just walk up from the campground and walk back to their camp in and throughout the day. Brett, we camped each year in Madison and it was great. Like tailgating on steroids. It has to be easy to get to or a destination to be there. That is one of my complaints with Madison. Madison was so small that the price of hotels went through the roof. There was price gouging. Yes, we had the campground. Yes, we had the festival. But the airport was super tiny. People had to fly to Chicago and drive to get better deals. We need to find someplace better than that. I think Nashville, I think St. Louis, I think Columbus, I think those are bigger and better cities to handle that kind of thing. Gas South Arena in Atlanta would actually be a good venue. They have concerts there and a minor league hockey team, and it's a pretty good area of Atlanta. But could you do anything outdoors? Does it have the festival feel? That's what I don't want to lose. Raleigh or Charlotte, maybe a Florida college town, Chicago, but no camping, Boston sprawl, could sadly do it. Chicago would be expensive just with the union rules there. Florida college town isn't bad. That doesn't sound bad to me. I think any college town, if you could somehow get a spot on campus in the summertime, it would be compelling. Kansas City is not a bad option. And you have two Kansas Cities to choose from. You have Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. The Kansas City, Kansas is where a lot of the big sporting venues are, like the NASCAR track, things like that. Those would both be good. And the barbecue's out of this world. Nashville's got a good airport. I just don't know where you would do the festival feel. I don't know Nashville enough. I've only ever really hung out downtown. So I'm sure there are places, maybe where the old Opryland amusement park was. I think they've shut that down. Could do some stuff out there, and there is an arena there. Chiefs and Royals play in Kansas City, Missouri. I can drive there. Yep. Yeah, the Titans are getting a new stadium, so I don't know where they're at with all that, but sure. Nashville is one of my favorite cities, and Paper Street Coffee is there. Yeah, you've got proven headquarters. Yeah, interesting. Lots of interesting choices. I just think the festival feel has to come back. And I think a campground has to come back. Those are the things that like are must-haves. I'm not as like I thought the races were fine inside. I do like the outdoor apparatus sometimes better, But I think that we need to bring back a campground and we need to bring back a festival feel, regardless of the arena and the stuff around it. Those are the two things that if you're going to get back to your North Star as CrossFit, that you need to have. Marat says Bridgestone Arena is right downtown Nashville on Broadway. It's an amazing arena, but there's nothing to camp or do an RV park around a Bridgestone Arena. We don't want it in Des Moines. It was 117 2 days before the games. You can't predict the weather for the most part. Now, you know that if you're in Texas, it's going to be hot. You know, if you're in Arizona, it's going to be hot. But man, there were some hot days in Madison. You know, when Annie didn't get any water, it was super hot that day on Murph. It can be hot everywhere. So, like, we can't truly predict that. Find a Division III college with a 7,000 seat arena and small football stadium. That would be perfect. And if you're on a college campus, you will have like all those parking lots to have like an RV park. And maybe you have like some soccer state or fields or something that you can use to like tent camp on. Do they want the festival feel for the games? I think if they don't, that it's a mistake. You can still have the festival feel with having it in indoor games. What I'm saying is you need to have a campground, an RV park, things to do for people to walk around. The other thing that the festival ticket gave was a cheaper way to get into the games and enjoy the games without paying $500 a seat. And then it's more accessible to the community. And then during the day, that community would work out. That's why it gave it this cool Woodstock of fitness feel. There are activations everywhere. When we were in Madison, Jamie was like itching to get to activations. She did a proven activation. She did a mayhem activation. She did all those things. That's what made it great. The campground may be tough. Need to find a venue that actually has one next door. Or, I mean, Madison, that wasn't really a campground. There was a field that they let people put tents in. Put it where the Hurricanes play in Raleigh. People tailgate hockey there for F's sake. If you don't have multiple outdoor events, you aren't finding the fittest. See, I don't think that is accurate. I do think that it's part of the unknown and unknowable, but I think we found the fittest this year with what we did. I think it was a balanced test. I think we found the fittest, but it lacked the iconic events of the past. But I think this year we didn't need iconic. We needed back to our North Star, which is what we did. We got back to what was important. CrossFit. We don't need a campground, just a tailgate lot with loose rules. Yeah, that always goes well. Broadcast budget stays cheap indoors. When like I know from like talking to Heather Lawrence, like the MVP Arena or Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, it was literally a plug and play broadcast system. They just bring their unit, they plug it in, and it's ready to go. Where in Madison, they have to bring trucks in to be able to do that. And they have to kind of set up their own system, which actually takes an additional week to do so. So that's why they're looking for these more modern arenas to do that. Madison was not plug and play. It was not. They had to bring in trucks that supplied a lot of what they needed outside the arena. Yeah, they bring trucks in for all, but they had to have dedicated trucks for certain aspects in Madison that were not needed at Dickies or at MVP. And it was a week lead up time to get it ready. That's what Heather told me was the biggest change, going from Madison to Fort Worth. Yeah. We've got lots of options in the Midwest. And I just think we need to kind of keep it as central as possible. My guess is we're probably going to be wrong and we'll go back to some place like Carson. But because it is the 20th, but I don't think that's the best option for where CrossFit is right now. We need to regrow and not take big leaps to things like that. I'm going to finish with something non-CrossFit because we've been CrossFitting it all along. I watched the Billy Joel documentary over 2 weekends. It's a really long documentary on HBO. Probably 3+ hours. And I'm old. I love Billy Joel. He's been one of my favorite singers my whole life. Found the documentary fascinating. It's amazing what alcoholism can do to ruin a person's life. He had a wife who was his manager, who got him out of a lot of trouble from signing contracts that he lost a lot of rights to early on, and threw that relationship away over alcohol. He gets straight a little bit, meets Christy Brinkley, gets into a relationship with her, ends up throwing that away over alcohol. Another manager steals everything he has, takes him down to nothing again, marries another woman, can't quit the alcohol, and loses her. 3 marriages, all done because he couldn't quit drinking. And it wasn't until Elton John tells him that he's being a wuss about his rehab and he needs to go to a hard rehab. And when Elton John's telling you need rehab, damn, you need some rehab. So he finally gets the rehab and he's doing well now. And that's why he's been doing these Madison Square Garden shows forever and touring a little bit more. But damn, like to throw all that away during this successful career over alcohol just seems crazy. Didn't he crash into somebody's house in Long Island? He did. I think he actually crashed into the tree in front of the house, not technically into the house. But yeah. Lots of DUIs. And what's really fascinating is the man wrote all these songs truly about what he was going through in life. And if you go back through his catalog and you're watching the documentary, you can actually like pair up the song talking about what happened. Like he has a song called You May Be Right. I may be crazy, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. And it talks about riding his motorcycle in the rain, intoxicated. It was truly a fight he had with his first wife, that she said that you were out drinking and driving on a motorcycle. What were you thinking? And he goes, well, I made it home safely. And she said, you may be right, but you're crazy. And he wrote that song about that argument. And it's really cool how, like, as you go through this whole documentary, his catalog kind of goes with it, which is crazy. Yeah, his latest tour did get canceled due to health issues. I'm sorry you didn't get to see that, George. If you listen to Piano Man like he's in a gay bar, it's way funnier. I will try that out. I have a hard time listening to Piano Man at all anymore. It was so overplayed in my life. That is one of my least favorite Billy Joel songs. But I've been collecting vinyl, Billy Joel vinyl, forever, trying to find them in little record stores and stuff. And I was able to complete the collection maybe 2 weeks ago. River of Dreams was reissued, so I was able to get a copy of that. And now I have every album that Billy Joel ever put out on vinyl. And he's not my like number one, but he's probably top 5 for me for sure. I got to see Piano Man meets the Rocket Man tour, which was fantastic. It was like almost 4 hours of straight music of him and Elton John going back and forth, which is CrossFit. I don't think those are the words. Vienna, excellent song. Vienna's about his father. His father was an immigrant into the United States, couldn't handle it in the U.S. and left them when he was 8 years old, when Billy was 8. And his father went back to Vienna. And that's really a song about his dad. Uh, 2003 time frame. He and Elton toured together 3.5 hour shows. Yeah, I saw him in 90, maybe 94 on that tour, really early on. Billy and Elton are two of my faves. What a great show, the two of them together. Yeah, fun stuff. But if you get a chance, it's a great documentary. I was not bored at all through this documentary. It just kind of clipped along. It's got a great soundtrack to it if you're a Billy Joel fan. But the story behind it all is really crazy and really fun to watch and listen to. Would we have gotten Vienna without the alcohol? Hard to say. I think we would have got Vienna. I'm not sure we would have got some of the later stuff. Sometimes one man's demons create treasures for humanity. Yeah, I think that Eric Clapton is proof of that. Sounds like something to watch today once I'm off here. Jay Birch, you'll love it. Now you'll probably have to, it'll take you a couple times. It's long. It's actually done in 2 parts on HBO, episode 1 and episode 2. Christy Brinkley, Hachimachi still. She's in the documentary. All of his ex-wives are in the documentary. Present day, talking about their relationships. From his first wife to his now 4th wife. And they are all very attractive. He definitely outkicked his coverage on every single wife. His first wife, right down my fairway, baby. She is smoking to this day. My favorite, Steven Tyler, being so coked out that when he heard an Aerosmith song on the radio, he didn't even know it was Aerosmith. Yeah, legendary partiers, man, legendary. But well, I'll leave you guys with that. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see if is going to be any big CrossFit news today. If so, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But again, thank you for having lunch with me. I can't wait to hop on with you again tomorrow. We'll do lunch with the Clydesdale again. And still have not heard from masters or legends about media for the games, but hopefully we will soon. With that, guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day, and you knuckleheads, get back to work as well. Bye, guys.